Good, happy Wednesday evening, April 6th, 2022. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Wednesday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Wednesday evening, so let's get started right now. First up, avian flu detected in dozens of geese found dead in Dover. Let's take a listen to that video from Wmur News 9.
Well, just a few weeks ago, dozens of birds had to be euthanized in Derry after avian flu was detected at an animal sanctuary. And tonight, Fish and Game says the disease was found among dead wild Canada geese. Officials say that at least 70 geese tested positive for avian flu. They were found dead in the area of the Bellamy River in Dover over the course of several weeks in late February and early March. 2 months ago, Fish and Game says 46 mallards in Rockingham County and 3 other ducks in Grafton County also had this strain of the virus. Now, the risk to humans is low. Fish and Game says they really only see avian flu among people who work closely with these animals. The threat is usually greater to domestic poultry.
If you can keep your birds separated from wild birds, particularly waterfowl, that goes a long way in protecting them. If anybody, has sick birds that they're observing, if they're domestic, they would want to contact the State Department of Agriculture.
Now, Fish and Game says they just can't test every single dead bird that gets reported to them. Instead, they will test if it's unusual or if there's a large group of animals that ends up dying. Reporting live in Concord tonight, Mike Cronin, Wmur News.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Longtime Wmur anchor Tom Griffith to retire. After nearly 35 years behind the anchor desk at Wmur and 45 years in broadcast journalism, Tom Griffith has announced he will retire later this spring. In his storied career, Tom has interviewed presidents, countless presidential candidates, covered major breaking news, severe weather events, and served as one of the original hosts for Wmur's nightly magazine program, New Hampshire Chronicle. When I arrived in New Hampshire in 1988, I thought this might just be another stop along the way in a long broadcast career, but I fell in love. I fell in love with a state of way of life like no other in America, Griffith said. It's almost unheard of for an anchor to spend this many years in the business at one television station, said Wmur president and general manager. In that time, Tom has succeeded because of his commitment, his professionalism, and his overwhelming kindness. Famously, during the 1992 presidential campaign, Tom was the first journalist to ask then-Governor Bill Clinton whether he had ever had an extramarital affair. Griffith has won countless awards for spot news, overall coverage, and election coverage. In 2008, he anchored tornado coverage in New Hampshire that was recognized with a prestigious Edward R. Murrow Award for Best Newscast in the nation among major market television stations. Tom has been a mainstay in our newsroom, always calm, under pressure, and supportive to everyone, especially the many up-and-coming journalists over the years, said Wmur News Director. Before arriving in New Hampshire in 1988, Griffith worked as an anchor at WSYX TV in Columbus, Ohio. He anchored and reported at WKY-TV in Lexington, Kentucky, and also WTOV-TV in Wheeling, WV, and Stubbsville, Ohio. As I leave, I hope my legacy might be that in some little way I helped New Hampshire's television station grow and evolve into something that everyone can be very proud of, Griffith added. I can't tell you how honored I am that the people of New Hampshire have allowed me to come into their homes every night for nearly the past 35 years. Tom currently anchors the 6 p.m., 10 p.m., and 11 p.m. weeknight newscasts. Friday, June 3rd will be his last day on Wmur. The station has plans to celebrate Tom's careers in the weeks leading up to his final broadcast. Wow. And he will be surely missed. Three men arrested for stealing used cooking grease from Salem restaurants, police say. Let's take a listen to that video from Wmur News 9.
If you're a contractor, Beltate's Building Supply wants to be your first choice for lumber and building products. Our contractor sales team can expedite orders for timely delivery right to your job site with our huge 50-vehicle delivery fleet.
Visit us at beltates.com or any of our 9 locations.
The Salem police arrested 3 men last week for stealing used cooking grease from several Salem restaurants. All 3 are from New York. The value of the grease estimated at roughly $1,000.
On Friday, April 1st, at around 5:40 in the morning, our dispatch center received a call from a witness over at the Salem Marketplace on Route 28 that observed 3 men with ski masks over their faces in a van, and when he came upon them, they drove off quickly.
That van, which was actually a modified armored car used to support the weight of the grease, was later spotted by police at a nearby gas station.
One of them claimed that they had contracts to remove the grease from the grease traps at certain restaurants. We determined that was not true. They were actually stealing the grease.
According to the owner of Eco Oil Recycling in Hampton, this type of crime is nothing new.
In essence, the oil is our inventory, so anything that's stolen from the containers we have at each restaurant, that's direct loss of income for us.
The used cooking grease is stored by restaurants in outdoor containers. Companies like Fred Morgan's pay the restaurants for the grease and then process it.
What we do specifically is just collect the oil and process it, minimally process it to clean it, taking water and food solids out of the oil.
From there, the oil is sold to refineries where it can be turned into biofuel.
Now, according to the North American Renderers Association, roughly $75 million worth of used cooking grease is stolen each year. As for these 3 men, they were released on personal recognizance bail. They'll be arraigned in Salem District Court next month. Live in Salem tonight, Jason King, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. $20.5 million in funding approved for Everett Turnpike widening project. Let's take a listen to that video from Wmur News 9.
A vote is set for today for a plan that would widen the Everett Turnpike between Manchester and Nashua. If approved by the Executive Council, the first phase would add a third lane in each direction between the Bedford tolls and the 101-293 interchange. The DOT says the biggest challenge for workers will be just south of the River Road underpass. They say there is a lot of bedrock in that area and blasting will be needed to remove it, which that's going to likely lead to some delays.
We will slow traffic down almost to a near stop. They will do the blast. They'll clean the blast up. They will put traffic right back on to the configuration where it was, and then we'll be moving traffic again.
Cars would not only be stopped on the Everett during the blasting, but also on nearby parts of Routes 101 and Route 3. The closures would only happen between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. If the plan is approved today, construction would likely begin this summer.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Volunteers at Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center assemble 1,000 first aid kits for soldiers and civilians on Ukraine battlefield. Let's take a listen to that video from Wmur News 9.
Yeah, this is just a job. And you're just some friends taking in the fall colors. The Echo PB 9010. It's just the most powerful backpack blower in the world. Echo, power on and on.
This is an all-volunteer effort, and it includes people throughout the Dartmouth Hitchcock medical system.
So you're going down the line, putting the items in. I think hope. Absolutely.
That hope coming in the form of individual first aid kits for people fighting in Ukraine. Hunter Fifield served in the 82nd Airborne, so he's familiar with what they need.
I knew that the soldiers and the civilians that were actually on the ground fighting, they were not going to have access to medical supply or medical care.
That's where the kits come in, containing supplies to at least give the wounded a fighting chance. Among the volunteers packing the kits, a woman from Ukraine.
This effort means so much to us because Ukraine needs help, and there is war. There are so many wounded soldiers. Hospital supplies are really in high demand right now.
Many of the items were already in the hospital's warehouse, but the response from vendors was also overwhelming.
Some of our big providers that we actually use currently today provided discounts. They expedited the actual orders to our main warehouses here at Dartmouth.
Alexei Kim drove up from Cheshire Medical Center in Keene to help out. Born in Kazakhstan, he thinks this will show the Ukrainian people they're not alone.
I hope they will continue to keep the fight because it's far from over. And I believe our effort here will help them with that.
These notes were written by kids from kindergarten through high school. In addition to the kits, they send an additional message of hope to the people of Ukraine. In Lebanon, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. 2 new deaths from COVID-19 reported in New Hampshire. Let's take a listen to that video from Wmur News 9.
What does it take to be the best? It takes guts, grit, determination. We don't settle for second place. We give 110%, 120% of the time. And we're really nice about it. Eastern Propane and Oil.
Tonight, active cases of COVID-19 are up slightly again, back above 1,100. There are 149 new cases to report and 2 new deaths tonight. Hospitalizations tonight, COVID-positive patients are up to 31, but those being treated for COVID now stands at 6.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. White House expected to introduce new sanctions against Russia. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Let's bring in our senior White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. Mary, more sanctions are coming.
Yeah, and George, the White House says that this new package of sanctions from the U.S. and European allies will impose harsh new costs on Russia and make it harder for them to fund this war. It will ban all new investments in Russia, increase sanctions on major Russian financial institutions, and go after Russian government officials and their families, including reportedly Putin's own two daughters. The White House this morning is also rushing new military assistance to Ukraine, overnight announcing they're sending $100 million worth of Javelin missiles. This has been really effective at taking out some of those Russian tanks. Now, White House officials and sources say that these new sanctions will impose acute economic harm on Russia, but they also admit that this is not going to suddenly change Putin's behavior, that this is all going to take some time to have a real impact. George.
Mary Bruce, thanks.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our...
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Have a great evening. Good night and goodbye.